Hello, my friends. It's Monday, and guess who's back? Rob from Digital Asset News, and of course, CTO. We are very good old friends, and it's great to have the team back together again. Today, everybody, we've got a lot to get through. We have a packed show. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, we're going to talk about alts, we're going to talk about bottom prices, top prices. Where do we go from here? There's a new thing as well called the Alt Season Golden Cross. We'll talk about DEXs, we'll talk about airdrops, we'll talk about ecosystems, we'll talk about so much more. Also, a little bit on risks too, because Rob, I know you're very aware of the dangers that people are in, and sometimes airdrops can make people kind of less risk averse. So let's go. First of all, Rob, thank you so much for joining. And don't forget, everybody, the links are below for Rob's channel and CTO's channel. The most based, rounded point of view you'll get in crypto and markets and life in general. So Rob, how are you doing in Puerto Rico?
It's not a bad day. First of all, if there's an echo, I apologize. Trying to get with all the audio, but we'll see how it goes. Everything's good. I don't know where everybody else is, but it's a beautiful day as usual. It's between 70 and 80 degrees every single day. And yeah, you can't beat that. I don't know if which one's better, if it's the weather here or if it's the market or if it's BOZO's call from CTO Larson. One of those is the best thing out there.
That's incredible. So, well, grateful that you're here, grateful the weather is safe and good, the power is on and everything else. And CTO, happy Monday. You lit the world on fire last week. You had me bombarded with literally thousands of questions. I had to go and research something called BOZO hybrid because of you. Thank you very much. And
yeah, sorry about that.
we'll tell you what I did as well. It's kind of funny, but let's jump in now that everybody is introduced and everything else. We have a lot to get through because we have Rob here, so we have to pick his brain. First of all, this is a cool little chart. I'll blow it up for everybody so you can see it big, and I just want to get your perspective and what you think of this. These are the actual Bitcoin prices going back in time. Now, if you look carefully, you'll see all the different action, but it's hard to believe. What took me aback is if you go back, say, 4 years, price was 9,000. If you go back 3 years, price was 33,000, then 38,000, then 23,000, then 42,000. It's like, I don't know, last 4 or 5 years, we've been pretty stable. If you go all the way back to 6 years ago, Bitcoin price was 12,000, which is higher than it was 4 years ago. So do you think we're getting diminishing returns right now? I'll kick this to you first, Rob, see what you reckon. And how do you see the Bitcoin market? And, you know, you haven't been on since the ETF launched. How do you feel about the money flows and all the other good stuff that's happening in the space?
I just, right now, like if we're going to talk about diminishing returns, I mean, you can make a case for that, obviously, right? But if you're looking at just as a TradFi person coming in, there's no better place to be than in this space right here, right now. I know a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but I know some people out there have been like a class of 2021, and they don't understand what's about to happen because we are pre-halving. We are roughly 89, 88 days, correct me in the comment section, of how far away we are from the halving. And then after that, everything just takes off. So if we just extrapolate this and just think to ourselves, okay, this is pre-halving, we see maybe some diminishing returns, but remember the last cycle was marred with a lot of cancer. And that cancer was the FTXs, the Celsius, the Voyagers, and everything that was going on behind the scenes. I think they kind of screwed us out of a proper bull run. I've said that before and I'll say it again. So I think right now, when we get purged, and we're seeing the purge in the Bitcoin ETFs, which you do a fantastic job, James, with all those graphs and charts on X. I steal them from you as much as I possibly can. And we see how much of the outflow from Grayscale has to be because of the cancer that was FTX. So I think right now, even though we might see diminishing returns, I still say that this is the best place of all time to be.
Awesome. CTO, what do you think of this history? What's your perspective? You need to unmute, CTO.
Sorry. I was very interesting to see it lined up like that. And of course, I agree exactly with Rob. I think that, I mean, often prices move up. And then when looking at this way of presenting it, like you're showing it here, there's been a period of consolidation. But often those periods break out in the direction of the dominant trend. And if we look at this chart that you have here, and we take this really multi-year step back and look at it, it was a price up, then it's been kind of flat, then a good guess is that the next move will be another move up. And that's my bet. And I feel that we see all those things here playing out. Of course, no one knows in the end. Perhaps some other disaster happens, who knows? But my guess is that it's exactly this is going to happen. We see all these ETFs coming in now, all these trusted companies coming in. I know that today Google is going to allow advertisement for Bitcoin ETFs again. That has not been permitted, or I think no crypto has been permitted to be advertised on Google since 2017 or something. Suddenly there will be Google ads for Bitcoin to the general public, and I think it's coming. I think there's more to give here. There's so many people who still think that crypto is some weird thing by a couple of weird guys like us, and I think that's going to change this year.
Yeah, it's definitely gone mainstream, and that is huge. And again, one of the things I like to point out with this chart as well is charts can be deceptive, where you can make sometimes a chart sing any tune you want. And if you are looking at this and zooming out, it looks actually a little bit negative because people talk about it being the best asset ever. But it's just a weird point in time to look at this perspective. Now, we did talk about ETFs very quickly, so I'm going to actually jump a little bit ahead in the agenda. Not only do we have advertising, we have Grayscale, which has been bleeding out over the past 11, 12 days, but it slowed tremendously with the second least worst day on Friday, and I expect that trend to continue. And you still have Fidelity pulling in 100 million at least every single day. One fund, 100 million bucks. Like, what would you say, actually, Rob, to you, what would you say your average DCA amount is per retail investor? Per month, per day, per week?
That's a tough way to take a look at it. The average DCA investor, because everybody's different, and then I know that there is a conflict in their minds about, okay, I know that this is going to take off. I know this is going to do well, but should I keep dollar cost averaging, especially when I hear all the different macro effects, especially when I hear about the talk about price appreciation or inflation? Maybe I should cut it down a little bit. I mean, the average, it's all over the place, James. It's all over the place from what I hear on my show. Some people will say that $50 or $10 a day is too much. Some people say that $1,000 a week is too little. So like just for the average retail investor, it's very hard to say. But I will just remind everybody that don't invest more than you can afford to lose. And let me share a quick story. If I would have really thought about it, because me and my wife were big into real estate. I took a look. We're going to sell one of our condos here in Puerto Rico. We paid $260,000 cash for it. This was on July 24th, 2020. And we're making a pretty good appreciation. If we would have put that all into Bitcoin on July 24th, 2020, right at the peak, it would have been worth $1.8 million. And if we would have held all the way through, it would still be worth roughly $1.2 million a day. So as far as like the average retail investor, I can't say it's the average, but I'm just saying, like, if you are debating right now, I think there could be potentially no better time.
Yeah, that's an excellent point regarding the real estate. And the point I have here regarding this Schwab news, it's rumored. I don't have official word from Schwab, but they are twice the size of Fidelity. So in my simple little brain, Fidelity are pulling in $100 million of inflows into their ETF a day. And that's just one of 9, 10, 11 ETFs, depending on how you look at it. Schwab is twice the size of Fidelity. Fidelity is 4 trillion. Schwab is 8.5 trillion. So that could easily mean another 200 million. This thing is there is going to be a supply crunch. The question is when, and I am 95% certain of that. CTO, I know you got a chart you want to see, and I also analyze this stuff too. What do you think about supply crunch and money? Is there really enough supply? Or will the retail investor just say, screw this, the TradFi people are in, I'm going to go all in on altcoins? I mean, where do you see this going?
Yeah, on the demand side first, I still feel so strongly that there must be so many people who have zero allocation to Bitcoin and crypto. their percentage of allocation to the best performing asset class of all human history is zero. And okay, maybe they shouldn't go all in. Maybe they shouldn't move from 100% real estate investing into 100% crypto investing. It isn't for everyone. But is zero the right amount? Is zero the right exposure for most people? I don't think so. I think, I mean, a few percent at least, right? Maybe, you know, if you're defensive, maybe 5% in case this crazy things picks up. I think that would seem reasonable to most people, given where we are. Everything is becoming more digitally. We work more digitally. Is digital money really such a bad idea? Probably not. So I think phrased like that, I think a lot of large investors, now that they actually have the mechanism to move in without doing something like grayscale trust that was always for the really initiated mostly. Now there is like a mainstream ETF. I think there will be a lot of those people. I think that the demand side, I am convinced, as we said now, this has been held back by the grayscale outflows. And I'm sure we'll look at the numbers later. But what if that starts slowing down? There must be so much inflow. And then is there supply? That's the second question, right? Now, the answer has been yes. There has been an enormous amount of supply because it's come from grayscale. So they have been happy to move out of that construction to lower fee alternatives or just take some profits. It's been people who have been locked up for many years. They couldn't take out their money. Now they could take it out. So now there's been a lot of supply. But what if that is not there? Price starts going up. There's Bitcoin advertisement everywhere on Google, on the subway station or wherever people post in the US. There are advertisements now. Are people going to want to sell then? Probably not. So I think that a lot of people don't want to sell when price starts going up, and this is start to talking about everywhere. They don't want to sell, and there's a lot of new people coming in who want to buy, and that's when price go up.
Exactly.
And OTC or not doesn't matter. If there's like imbalance between demand and supply, price goes up. That's the full story. That's the end of it. So I think so.
That's been my fascination since 2017, just the hardness of this thing. Now let's switch gears. Let's talk about another asset which used to be the 800-pound gorilla in the space, an asset called Ethereum. And Ethereum has been quite disappointing over the last, call it year, 14 months. We had a bit of a spike a week ago. Now there's talk of Ethereum going to 10,000, which is a 4x. For many people who are degens in crypto, they're not interested in the 4x. They want a lot more. But do you think we could even get to 5,000? Never mind 10,000? Because there have been some structural changes in Ethereum right now, and it still has its issues. So Rob, I'll give this one to you first. What do you think of ETH? Do you still hold it? And have you seen it being cannibalized? I think you have, by other players.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I still hold it, and I think some of the more TradFi people are going to hold it too. Yeah. And I think the reason is because the narrative that's around it. Because let's be honest, everybody in this comment section that are watching this video you guys front ran the largest institution in the entire world. Congratulations. And you're probably getting into other stuff like Solana, and maybe got into Bonk, or maybe got into BOZO, which is way ahead of everybody else because we're a couple of steps ahead of everybody. So when we think about, can Ethereum make it up to 5,000? Sure, why not? Because I mean, we've been talking about there being an Ethereum ETF, and we've had Hester Pierce come out from the SEC saying that they will put on precedent from what we just saw with the Bitcoin ETF. And even Seifert, who said that we would get a Bitcoin ETF, a spot one, he was right, and I was 100% incorrect. He even says, look, it's about a 60% chance that we get a Ethereum ETF in May. So again, I think that we can see that. It's because that the TradFi people that are coming in were like, oh, okay, that sounds pretty good. I'll look into that. What does it do? Oh, it's for dApps and we can build and there's layer 2 solutions on that. Okay, that sounds pretty good. But I don't think they have a clue about what's really going on in crypto, and that's why we're here. So to answer your question, yes, I think it can do well. A lot of things are still built on Ethereum, but it is getting cannibalized.
That is totally for sure. CTO, any point of view on Ethereum? Or are you all in on BOZO hybrid right now?
I thought about something actually this weekend, because one reason I explored that was that I really want to get my hands more dirty with the Solana ecosystem, or clean, or whatever, like do more things with the Solana ecosystem. And one thing that is really striking me, I've been trying all the chains for so many years, and there's a lot of insight to gain from actually trying something yourself. I remember, James, the first times we talked, I had just tried some product. What was it called? Cadena. And I realized that there were so many people talking about it. I thought, oh, this seems great. Everyone on Twitter was talking about it. So I thought, I should try it out. And I spent a whole day trying it, installing wallet, trying different things. And I realized that this thing doesn't work. It doesn't work. And the instructions are wrong, and there's links everywhere. And I realized all these people on Twitter, they haven't actually tried it. They're just, retelling each other's narratives, but they don't actually know.
Or were they pumping it?
Perhaps.
Because in full disclosure, I got, we sometimes are on the receiving end of things, and it was, anyway, I won't talk about that because.
Exactly. I just took that as example because the same, but the opposite, I felt when really starting to use Solana for a lot of different use cases. Like the first time I did some swap, I thought it didn't work. You press the transaction, you press and so on, and nothing kind of happened. And I thought it didn't work, so I was looking and so on. And then
you bought 3 times.
It's already done. It's already in the wallet. Oh, really? And it was like a aha moment. It was really a wow moment for me. And it is really it is so fast. And also it's like finality and all those things. It was really a wow moment for me. This was quite a long time ago, and I got really fascinated by it. And now when we have like these projects from different generations, they have pros and cons. Ethereum has more nodes, there's less requirement to run a node and so on and so forth. It has a longer time in the game, perhaps more developers, I'm not sure. But it has like a longer history, and it has held up, so it's really trusted. But then there are these projects that are functionally better. Like as a user, if you're not really focusing on like the ethics, like the theoretical principle behind this, which one is more decentralized. If you're just using it, you just want to do a swap. Okay, this is better. It's cheaper. It's radically faster. And it seems better in every way. And there's no like layer 2 complexities and all that stuff. So yeah, I've always felt this. I'm pro innovation. I'm positive to innovation. I love Ethereum. I think it was like one of the biggest inventions of the past 20 years is Ethereum, that you can really run code on the blockchain. It's fantastic. But can that innovation be improved on and build something that's even better? Yes, I think generally it can. And I think there is this cannibalization effect that seems impossible. You feel like it can't happen because this one has been here so long, it's so stable, but suddenly it happens. And because as a user, this experience is better. It's better experience using Solana DEX than to use a Ethereum DEX.
Yes, and there is an interesting thing happening, and I always track where the money flows in every way for every asset, and you can see the flows from Ethereum into Solana are nearly twice the size, whether you go back 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, and now all of a sudden the money flow has started out of Arbitrum into Solana, which is a new development as well. So we have some unusual things happening here where basically that whole term cannibalization is happening. People are learning that they can trade faster, cheaper. I think the fun story was a thing called WEN. I got 8 WEN airdrops. They were $29 when it dropped. 8 times 20 now, it's $100 per airdrop. So it's $800 for free that you can move those 8 amounts into a wallet, swap it into Sol. There you go. You got 8 new Sol, at least 9, maybe, depending on the price. Rob, what do you think about this? And I know you tweeted something on WEN, because we're jumping all over the place here, but hey, why not? This is WEN Airdrop and WEN Burn. Rob, can you update us on the WEN Burn and what that actually means for WEN? And do you have WEN? I know you do, obviously.
Yeah, so this was actually a tweet that I just retweeted. This is from the foundation. It looks like they're going to be burning a whole boatload of WEN right now. And I think this was like, when I sent this to you, it was supposed to be done in 6 hours. I sent it to you 5 hours ago, so this already should be done. I'm curious to see if there's any price action right now, because it looks like WEN has actually gone up. I mean, not as much as say BOZO, but which I cannot believe we're can you imagine, first of all, that we're talking about these words from a year ago? We're like, hey, did you get in BOZO and WEN and all this stuff? You're like, oh, and Bonk? That was awesome. Now here we are.
Yeah, I'm the most conservative kind of TradFi guy you'll ever find. And I'm dabbling with this stuff, but only for very, very, very small amounts. But I started back in November, December, a thing called like building up a Solana alt portfolio, comparing the winners of the previous cycles, like the Aves and the Uniswaps, etc., to this cycle. What's better, cheaper, faster? What has the same level of adoption? And then look at relative market caps and look at tokenomics, and then pry out the winners. That has been incredibly successful, and we're so early. These things still have a lot of room to run. So what I'm doing is building positions, and I will hold them for a year and see what happens. But then I had Bonk from an airdrop, and I saw the community, and I started digging into it, and there's a lot more to Bonk than meets the eye. And then you have this 1,000 others. Now remember, 98% of them are money grabs and rug pulls, so you are playing with fire. Therefore, allocate literally 0.1% of your tokens to this. But it's also super interesting to see how it all works. And what's amazing to me, one of the things that blew me away, and I don't know if you guys look at this, you can track all of the assets, you can find what's trending, and you can look at who's buying and who's selling in real time. And then you can drill into their wallets and see how much they have, how much they've traded, how successful they are. Complete transparency in real time. And I think that is really impressive, because what you can see behind what's going on, it gives you kind of some comfort. And I know, CTO, again, we're bouncing all over the place. You did a deep investigation into this one. This is CTO and BOZO. CTO is not a BOZO, but he invested in BOZO. And this is an example of how this world is changing. So I analyzed this actually last evening, and I was fascinated by the complete zero slippage between the NFT and the token, and the transferability between both. It was very unique. And sometimes the best things in the world are the simplest things. Can you tell the audience about this and how you are positioning and what you expect?
Exactly. So it's funny with this naming. I mean, I also come from a very traditional industry, telecom, where it's, very boardroom worthy names. It's so very only technical terms describing something in a very clear manner. And here things are called like BOZO and Bonk and so on. But I forced myself to kind of try to look beyond that. And I know one of the persons who was doing this, and I know that he's not a flimsy guy. He's very serious and hardworking guy. That's why I looked at it. And then I realized, but there's a great idea here that I haven't seen before. Perhaps it exists before. I don't know. I don't know everything. But I hadn't seen it before. And I thought, this is such a good idea. Why hasn't anyone done that before? So the idea was that first I have to explain the problem. If you're a large player, say that you're one of the ETFs, when they want to buy a lot of Bitcoin, they want to go in and they want to buy like almost 0.1% of the supply, 1,000th of the supply. It's very difficult for them to do that. If they just go on Coinbase and they press the buy button, market order, price shoots up, right? So they get it becomes very expensive for them. The last Bitcoin they buy cost much more than the first one because they move the price themselves. They empty the order books, and price moves, and you don't want that when you're buying, right? So what do? They do OTC deals, which is then taking this digital software money, which is Bitcoin, and then you still have to go back to like a very traditional order desk, OTC desk, where you're calling each other, hello, do you want to buy anything, do you have anything to sell? And it's like a third party again trying to do this deal in a very like same way you did deals like 400 years ago or like 100 years ago for Bitcoin. And still that's what we're doing. And the idea here that they came up with this BOZO project was that why don't we use NFTs for that? So each NFT is worth 0.1% of the supply. So this isn't for like a small player. This is for the large players. So if a large player want to buy and sell, they don't trade the tokens. They can bid on these NFTs. And then we don't need any OTC desk anymore. There's like 100 NFT platforms already that have already done that. They've already built all that infrastructure. So again, like with a few lines of code, we can replace a traditional function. And that's what I really like. Then it's like NFT trading for these large players. And each of those represents 0.1% of the supply. And then they can convert back to the tokens, or you can convert from the tokens to the NFT and then go and buy and sell that one. And I thought, oh, that's such a great idea. Why haven't anyone done that? So, but I mean, I'm so surprised that something like a good technical idea, it's not called, I don't know, hybrid decentralized architecture proposal or something. It's called BOZO, okay, but it was still a good idea. And I really thought so. And I calculated this morning, I made a update video. So since mint, this one has now gone up 1.5 million %, which is in, I think, 4 weeks or something like that. So that's these kind of things that even if it's so high risk, most of the things is garbage. It's very difficult to tell the difference. But if you're just doing something and once in a while you get something approximately right, it's still worth it. Because one of those things can become insane. Like you did, James, you buy the Solana phone because you wanted to learn something and support the Solana ecosystem, and then turns out you got some coins with it. It's called bonk, and that no one pay attention to, and then suddenly it becomes worth something. And you can't really predict this. You can't, sit and analyze and come to this conclusion. But I feel that if playing the game, doing something, you're going to stumble on something that eventually works. And I think that's the one thing that's great about it. And even if you don't, chances are you learn something, right? And that learning can be translated into investment in some more traditional stable asset. You can understand the blockchain better, or you can understand Solana better, or something like that is worth something, even if those degenerate coin investments don't work out in that. And I love that. I think it's fantastic.
Exactly. And we're seeing a lot of activity happening across decentralized exchanges, and a lot of that is driving activity on blockchains. You had over 1.1 million daily active users on Solana, I think it was Saturday. And you've got everybody getting very, very excited. You've got Rob here, happy about his WEN token drop, etc. I just want to share a very quick warning to people. All of this airdrop mania is getting people very excited. And beware, because this is when the scammers prey on your greed. So this, excuse the typo, airdrop, but you get the idea. If you have a phantom wallet or another wallet, you'll be airdropped automatically. But verify the address before you click on it. Verify it's real. But now these scammers are actually emailing people. Phantom doesn't know kind of your email and stuff like that. So everybody, greed can blind people, and then they click on everything and then lose everything in a heartbeat. And Rob, I know you're expert on kind of scam prevention and stuff. What advice would you give to the audience around what to beware of? I have my checklist, how to see red flags and stuff like that. But what would you say the top 3 rules are for people to be safe out there?
The most basic one is everything's a scam until proven otherwise. So it doesn't matter where it comes from or where you think it is. It's all a scam. And then the other rule I probably don't like to say is that you're going to get scammed at some point, and that's what's going to happen. So it's going to happen in some way, shape, or form. The idea is to minimize that exposure. So all of your hot wallets, whether that be Phantom or Titus or MetaMask, which is personally trash in my opinion, all those different hot wallets that you actually have, just keep minimal amounts in there. And even when you have airdrops and you're like waiting for it, maybe you want to take some profits off those airdrops and transfer them to your cold storage devices, whatever those might be. So again, everything's a scam until proven otherwise. Minimize your exposure, and at some point you're going to get scammed at something. But just minimize that as much as possible.
Exactly. Spread it around on your hot wallets. By the way, breaking news here. And Ivan, who is in meetings, he always says, when Tether mints, buy. I love that it's a very, very simple thing. So Tether just minted $1 billion, everybody. And guess what just went up $600 in minutes? Bitcoin.
Shocker.
And I can't get a real-time price for BOZO hybrid for some reason. Do you have it there, CTO? But the Bitcoin just gone up $800 since we began this show, because I put a little marker line and calculate the move. That's really big. And Solana's back above $100. Yeah.
We did it.
So you're going to show us the BOZO thing. And the other thing as well, again, regarding scams, this is so important. When something is hot, people create these new tokens. It takes you 5 minutes to create a token on Binance Smart Chain or an Ethereum or whatever else. So if you look up BOZO, everybody's buying the fake BOZOs, not the ones that CTO Larson is talking about. So maybe you can drop this in the chat. I'm going to add this and make sure people... let me see.
Yeah, the funny thing is the same in the stock market, right? We talked about what project was that a half a year ago or something when people bought the wrong stock.
Oh, yeah.
So
people bought a thing called Invitae, which is a biotech instead of NVIDIA. And they didn't know. And then they're all excited. Oh, my God, I've got 1,000 shares of NVIDIA and it's gone to $500. And then they look at their account. It's like, it's $3, So that happened.
Exactly. So, I mean, guys, I think you have to be careful when you're doing something, especially something which is like a couple of weeks old or a couple of days old. You better you can't just search the token ticker. There's going to be like 5 of them called the same thing. You have to check which one it is. So in this case, it's this project, and then they have a pinned tweet with all the links. And I mean, maybe that's a good way to start. Make sure you get the right place.
Very good.
So here is the one on the for like the whales, the NFTs, and then floor price now is 556. It was 400 this morning, and it was 40 last Friday when I deep dived in this.
Can you do the math for the people? What's 556 times 100? That's the cost of that bear.
Yeah, exactly. So 556. What is Solana? 97 or?
It's $100.
Let's bring it up. Let's bring it up. It's 99.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm living in the past. It's 99. So yeah, 556 times 99. That's $55,000, and it was what $3,600 I think last Friday, and it was $3 a month ago. So. That's the crazy thing with these things. It seems impossible. It seems like things like that can never happen. But here it is. And I mean, look at the chart here. This is like testing resistance again, breaking up. It's another leg up probably.
Yeah,
and
it's interesting.
Know, so many of these.
Yeah. Because everybody was peppering me, as I mentioned, with questions. CTO's on this BOZO hybrid. People know we're close. It's like, what are you doing? Did you buy? So I didn't get a chance to research it till Sunday, and then I flipped, I think, half my bonk into it. So, because not only my thesis is very simple. Yeah, it's very risky, but is it going to outperform with all this hype? I was looking at the new wallet growth and the whales coming in and the NFT floor price, and I said, yeah, it's looking like it will outperform Bonk, at least in the near term. So that was my thesis, and I was fascinated by the actual concept because that will be replicated. You know.
Oh,
You have
absolutely. This is a great idea. So here's the bridge on their homepage. So then if have a lot of tokens, can swap them. Sorry, this slide. If you have one NFT, you can swap them to 800,000 tokens with this button, and the other way around. So you can swap back and forth here, and I'm not going to demonstrate it here, but it happens in seconds.
Yeah.
On Solana. That's the thing. Those kind of things, if you've done something like that on Ethereum, you're going to have to come back half an hour later because of finality, and there has to be enough confirmations before the site can release it and so on. And on Solana, these things is like you press it and it's done. And that's the mind-blowing thing, which you can't really do on Ethereum. I'm saying that as the biggest Ethereum fan, but hands down, you couldn't really do this in the same user experience on Ethereum.
And what gave me confidence in this project, it's very similar to the way fiat currency used to work. It used to be gold backed. So this is basically a currency, which is the token, and it's NFT backed. So, and Rob, you know gold, so you know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, no, I get it. Just like I'm listening to this, and I watched the video CTO, and I was just thinking to myself, as it appreciated, I thought to myself, everybody who's out there who takes the time to study projects, do their due diligence, do your own research, and they've gone through courses, and they've done TA, and they're looking at charts 12 hours a day, and they get outperformed by an NFT by 1,000%. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That is essentially what we are living in right now. So, I mean, that's just the sign of the times.
It's like we're living in the Matrix.
And I think what I'm happy about is that I want to see projects that bring something new to the table, some actual innovation. I'm happy to see those succeed. I'm much happier to see that than some project that's just copying another project and does marketing or whatever. I want to see innovation succeed because then people get motivated to innovate. And I think that this is really a good idea. And like you said, James, this is a good idea. I don't need to say I think it is a good idea. It is a good idea. So this will be replicated. I'm sure. And because it's a basic idea, and that will continue.
So we have a lot of interesting things, and then we'll open up to some questions. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions for Rob, and people are very happy to see you back, Rob. Thank you for coming. First of all, we are seeing unprecedented action and flippenings all over the place. This is another example of the total eclipse of the sun, as I joke. Black hole sun is my whole thing. But Jupiter just flipped Uniswap, which is the big granddaddy of DEXs in trading volume over 24 hours. That is unprecedented. Jupiter will be the hottest drop of 2024 by far. I've been excited about it for 90 days or 120 days. I don't know. Super, super excited for that one. Have you guys noticed all of this? And part of the reason for this is because the use case is not right now. We've always been looking for that blockchain use case that can drive us to 100 million users. I think we have it. And that's DEXs. It's not a video game. It's not NFTs. Or it could be a hybrid NFT DEX play. Who knows? What do you think, Rob? Have you tracking this? Jupiter, are you in?
Yeah, there's three narratives I've been talking about for a while now of what's going to lead us into 2024 and 2025. It was AI, Web3 gaming, and DEXs. And the reason for the DEXs was very simple. It's because the centralized exchanges have been dropping the ball, and there's a lot of different problems and issues, regulatory issues around them. So why won't people just use DEXs? But the DEXs kind of sucked, and like CTO was talking about. But it's just, and people are going to say this, but guys, what about this DEX or that DEX or that DEX? Look, I've tried them all. I've tried most of them. I can't say I've tried them all. There's so many. But if you just want your mom to use something, your grandmother to use something, or someone who's like a newbie, that doesn't get much easier than Orca or Jupiter. You can use Uniswap and go back and forth. And of course, there's also the one with Avalanche, Trader Joe, and other stuff out there. But I mean, it just works. And then the DCA and the perpetual motion. And then also, I just saw a thread where they're talking about with that launch revenue sharing. So I don't know how they're going to do that, but that's quite interesting if you think about it. Not only is the token appreciate, but for every transaction that they get, they do revenue sharing with the token holders. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
Yeah, Fluxbeam. I have Fluxbeam, and I look at the drop I get every single day because the holders get 40% of fees.
Say
40%. Yeah. It's insane. Like it literally, I did the calculations of just one position on one wallet. It was just mind blowing. Anyway, the old tokenomics have completely changed. Technology has changed. It's moving very fast and it's becoming very innovative. And the old guard doesn't seem to be able to catch up because of technology reasons. And you've seen as well, Rob, you're very in tune with what's happening in ecosystems across the board. Have you noticed the big migrations from chain X to chain Y lately? The renders, the makers. You can't talk about some of them, but you know about some of them.
Yeah, I can't talk about some, but there is for like layer 2s and stuff like that, like Arbitrum. I mean, they do a fantastic job for the games. I mean, Pirate Nation and a couple different ones that are out there, and then Ronin, but that's a layer 1 solution. And the Linea and the base and the stuff that are working behind the scenes, they can work. They do work. I mean, we've seen games being built on them. But then the question is, do you want to jump through all those hoops and do all those things? It's all about the ability for people to not know what's going on behind the scenes. And CTO can talk about this. When you're building things, you have to have chain abstraction. You don't want anybody to know what's happening and make it so difficult, and bridges and warps and all that stuff, that it just makes it so much more difficult for us to get mass adoption. So to talk about, we picked the chain for our project, and there's a reason why we picked it. It's because it's just the simplest way to do things. And I mean, all of them work. And I'm not saying everybody that your project that you've invested into is not going to do great. We're in a bull market, everything does great. I'm just telling you that these are the things that have worked out for me and the people that I've shown.
So you have a game, you have it on a certain chain. Can you mention the game of the chain?
Well, I can mention the game, but this is just it. The game it's free to play. It's 100% free to play on Web 2. We're bringing back the game Flappy Bird, and it's going to be free to play. Did I mention it's free to play? It's free to play. It'll be on Apple and Android, and we'll get that out moving forward. So, but as far as the chains, no, it's just it's a fun game, and people will love it, and that's all I can say.
And you said something very relevant as well, and that is this. Bull market, everything is happening, everything will go up. Now, we have a TA expert in the room. We now have an AltCoin gold cross. So this is very significant. This has only happened twice in the history of the world, and we just had our third one. So this is pretty incredible out there. What do you think of this, CTO Larson? And have you heard of the AltCoin market cap gold cross?
I have. I will answer it. I just have to add two things. I'm a huge Flappy Bird fan, so thanks for bringing that back. And can I add one thing on the DEXs before we go into this?
And in full disclosure, I have no idea what Flappy Bird is, so I know nothing about games. So excuse my ignorance, Rob.
On these DEXs, because I think it's really important, and it is the cost of using it. And I think a lot of people underestimate how big impact it has. Even people who have money don't like wasting it. Yeah. And it's simply not true that, but because it costs a lot of money, it's better for a large player. No, it's worse for them. They hate losing money even more than other people. Many rich people are cheap. They hate spending money. And aligning with, comparing with telecom, we had great mobile phones that worked well in Sweden and the US and probably in Puerto Rico for rich people in 1997, 1998, but it didn't scale to the rest of the world. It was too expensive. The next 10 years was spent trying to bring down the price, and it succeeded. And comparing here Uniswap, at least the layer 1 Uniswap, it's expensive to use, especially when you actually want to use it, when something happens on the market and fees spike. Of course, you can move to layer 2, but it's complicated. It's cheap to use Juniper. And I've said this once before. That was when the BSC, Binance Smart Chain ecosystem, was just new. Uniswap had just come, and speaking of flimsy name, there was this thing, Pancake Swap, and people say it will never fly. Pancake Swap, it doesn't even have a serious name, and Binance Smart Chain, you can hear on the name that it's centralized, and it's like a crap chain. And I said, yeah, that might be, but I don't think most people care. I don't think they care if it's centralized or not. It's cheaper to use, and it's faster, and that's what they care about. So I said, no, I think it's going to be a huge success. I think the Binance Smart Chain will be a huge success, and it did. And then, 30x later on BNB, people said that, yeah, that was obvious. But it wasn't obvious before. And here I think we're seeing the same thing again. People think that, but Ethereum cannot be replaced and so on. But I think the same. Jupiter is cheaper to use, it's faster. I think people will like it.
Yeah.
I think they will use it. I think it will be a huge success. And I mean, we're seeing it already, but I think it will sustain. I don't think it's a one-off. I think this is going to be successful.
See, Tito, you mentioned something so on the point there, on the money. There's a gas station in San Francisco. One is called Chevron. I don't get gas. I can't remember the name of the other gas station, but literally they are across the road from each other. One has gas that's 20 cents cheaper. Okay, there's a line down the road. Mercedes, BMWs, all the fancy cars are waiting to save 20 cents. The other one across the road, Chevron, 20 cents more expensive. Nobody's there. So, and the gas here is like $5 or $6. So it's people will wait 20 minutes to save 20 cents per gallon. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Rob, I see you nodding your head. Do you agree with that? Have you ever seen such a phenomenon with outside gas stations?
No, you can see it everywhere. You can see it in anything. I mean, people like discounts and they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay as much, because if they feel like they're getting a discount, they'll keep lining up again and again and again. But it has to be a product that you can actually use and it works and it functions. Gas is a great example of that. If you have something that's cheaper, faster, and better, why wouldn't they use it?
Exactly. Okay, let's talk about this gold cross. Could it be a thing? CTO, I'm going to put you on the spot once more.
So gold cross simply means that like the short-term price is moving up faster than the long-term average. That's what it means. And then there are many ways to measure that, but it's kind of like a trend, one type of trend indicator. And I personally use a slightly different trend indicator, but it points to the same thing. It points to that the trend is turning up according to this trend metric, the golden cross trend metric. And I think we are seeing that, and versus USD. So altcoin market trending up against USD and beginning of an uptrend according to this metric. That's what it means. And I do think we kind of feel that. If we take a step back, do we feel that altcoin market is coming back? Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure, though, if it will outperform Bitcoin in the medium term. That I am not sure of. And I felt that for quite a long time, to be in the altcoin market, you can't just randomly buy stuff. That's not really going to work. Bitcoin has performed better than if you average on everything on the altcoin. The Bitcoin dominance has been trending up generally. Can argue now if it's beginning to trend down or not, but generally that has been the case. And with all the things happening with the ETFs, that could still be the case. It could still be that the leading narrative for the next leg is Bitcoin because of the ETFs, because of Google advertisement. There is no ETF for Ethereum in February. I don't think so. I don't think it's a long way out. So perhaps they are both moving up, but I'm not sure that like shotgun approach on altcoins is the right approach here. That I'm not convinced of yet. I think need to really cherry pick a little bit in the altcoin.
And you got to excise the winners, and I totally agree. I don't like painting with a broad brush. I don't like looking at 10,000 coins in aggregate or whatever it is that goes into this. It's a bit messy, but it is historically a very bullish sign, and it means no more downside from here at the very least. You would agree with that?
Oh, yeah, I think it looks very good. I mean, the whole market, Bitcoin versus USD, altcoins versus USD.
You want to share this one?
Yeah, I can share this.
There you go.
I mean, I'm a simple person. Most analysis, most technical analysis, it doesn't get better because you draw 10,000 lines or something. In fact, it gets worse. You just confuse yourself and you don't know what you're doing exactly. I felt that the trend really turned up at the end of last year, end of 2022, beginning of 2023. That's where the trend turned. And I thought it was pretty clear. And we sat there on DCA, we all talked about it. And I feel that hasn't changed. I feel we're still in the same situation. Short-term price moved into this range. It dropped below the range. We did get a dump, but it wasn't particularly deep. And now price is back into the range. And I think the same, if we want to do short-term prediction, we can maybe get some clues from this GBTC outflow. If that's slowing down, that's very difficult to find anything wrong here with this chart. Trend is up, price went in a range, fundamentals looking good. Yeah, looks great. And then we can argue, is there like a trend shift in the Bitcoin dominance, but it's at least not conclusive, and it has at least not starting to turn down. Just to show what it looks like when it starts turning down, it looks like this. And we're not seeing that at all here.
Yeah.
So,
and we're also seeing a situation now. There's so much negativity out there regarding so many people, even experts. You got like crypto people kind of I respect now calling for $20,000 Bitcoin. But either they're pumping their own alt bags or they're completely missing the mathematics of what Bitcoin is. And I was watching all the short positions being placed against Bitcoin over the last 2 or 3 days because of all the negative sentiment. And I think we could be facing a short squeeze. If Bitcoin pops to 44, 45K, they're going to get wrecked. We're talking $250 million of shorts on Bitcoin are going to get wiped out real fast. So I think that could actually be in play right now because I just saw in your chart, Bitcoin just shot up literally $1,000 since we began the stream. So thank you everybody to the great mojo that's out there. And a reminder as well, don't forget to subscribe to Rob and CTO below. So we'll do one last question. So we assume old season is in place, but there's big unlocks happening this week for Optimism and DYDX. DYDX is a DEX. It's shriveling up right now because Jupiter is taking all the business. That's clear as day. Optimism is also struggling out there from a daily active user perspective. Do you guys have any insights on Optimism or DYDX, or would you hold them? Rob?
I don't hold either of them, so I really can't speak to this one. And I don't. But if somebody holds them and we've got a big dump coming in, then maybe a little sell off is in order.
Yeah, exactly. We did see that with Injective. Last week there was an unlock on Injective and it bounced right back super fast. So that can happen too. You know, if the investment thesis is still solid for an asset, it can still suffer one of these big unlocks as well. Any thoughts on this, CTO, before we open up to some questions from...
I don't really know, so maybe I've talked so much already. I don't have anything particular to add.
Sorry. You rock. So this is the funnest part of the show, when people ask their questions. And a big thank you as well to the moderators in the chat. You guys rock keeping us safe and scam free. So Dale Wiggins, why would GBT selling be done? Wouldn't most eventually want to get rid of the fee? Question mark. A very good question. I can take that first because you guys have done so much talking. When you look at the makeup of GBTC, imagine there's $100 in there. About $20 of it is within, people in tax-free retirement accounts that hold GBTC. They can sell it and move to a different asset without any friction. But if you're not in a retirement account and you're making a gain, you could be incurring, if you got into GBTC at $8, $10, and now it's, well, I don't even know what the price is. I don't know, track it that much. But you would be incurring massive capital gains taxes. Sometimes it could even be short-term capital gains taxes. And therefore, it's better to eat the fee for 5 or 8 years that will offset the capital gains tax that you would incur right now. That is why people will be stop selling soon, because of exactly that factor, and others. Some people don't care. Some people, put it in place and leave it there and don't worry about it. But eventually it will bleed out slowly. But the dramatic decrease in the bleed, it fell 66% from one day to the next between Thursday and Friday. And that is stunning. And you can watch the volumes as well online live, and you can see that Fidelity and BlackRock are taking over. But I was stunned that in 11 days that GBTC lost 21% of 619,000 coins. That's a heavy bleed. I thought maybe they'd lose 20% in like 3 months and not in 11 days. Rob, any thoughts on GBTC?
I was gonna say, it'd be interesting to see, like, for the TradFi people that are involved, if they were smart enough, because hopefully they've been coached enough by the Grayscales and the Fidelities to go, look, this is probably what's going to happen. There's a Bitcoin halving, and then we sometimes see price appreciation, but it's risky. It'd be interesting to see, like, if they have like the Kevin O'Leary effect, which is they put this in like 1 or 2% of their portfolio, and then all of a sudden over time they start to buy a little bit more, and it outperforms everything in their entire portfolio, and then they become the evangelicals. Not to say that Kevin O'Leary is like the greatest evangelical, but I'm just saying that because of what happened with his crypto portfolio, he was everywhere until he started to promote FTX. But that's another story.
Yeah. Well, excellent. I got a very interesting question, and I'm glad this question was asked because we have a technologist on the line. This is from EMC Koba. I have a lot of airdrops, including WEN, in my Phantom wallet that I haven't activated for fear of being wiped out. That is the right fear to have, everybody. Is there a list somewhere of these valid airdrops? So yes, I have a list of all the valid airdrops, and also you can go to, I think it's Airdrop Alert, airdrops.io, you can go to CoinMarketCap. These are 3 sites where you can check for them. Also, CTO, can you explain how inside a wallet you verify the address, especially with your experience around BOZO and all the fake BOZOs? Maybe you can give a pro tip here.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the details, but I think before that even, you shouldn't have one wallet. That, because like Rob said earlier, assume that no matter how careful you are, you're going to get scammed at some point. So that will happen. The only question is what happens when it happens. And if you have all your coins in one wallet, what happens is that your entire wallet is wiped. And it just takes, you can be smart for 2 years in a row and stupid for 1 minute. And perhaps you had a beer that night, but you had to do that thing and so on, and boom, it's all gone. So that can't happen. So you must have many wallets, or at least one wallet where you store things, and another wallet where you claim the airdrop, but you don't store anything on that one. So if you get wiped, you go to the wrong site, you click the wrong thing, you sign the wrong transaction, there's nothing there anyway. That's the way to do it. You have to have another wallet where you store the things, and there you don't claim any airdrop, you don't connect it to anything, don't connect it to anything. You just transfer coins in or out. That's the storage wallet. And then you have the other wallet where you go and claim your airdrop. You probably will get scammed and so on. You can have multiple of those wallets, and they can be software wallets. It's fine to have software wallets there. You just transfer the coins in. You do your swap on Juniper or claim your airdrop or whatever it is you want to do, and then you transfer the result back to your hardware wallet where you don't connect it to anything. That's really to add on to what Rob said. Assume that it's going to happen. Assume you will get scammed. And of course, there is like simulation before you approve things. But there are so many variants of scams, guys. It's almost impossible to protect yourself from everything all the time. So that's my one tip.
Yep, excellent stuff. There was a little question just popped in regarding Avalanche, and Rob, a member, wanted to know, do you still have your Avalanche validator or did you have one? I don't even know.
No, I did. I had it for a year, and just didn't get enough traction with it, so we let it go.
Okay.
But we just had. But Avalanche is still a great project. Just had Ed Chang on, who's the head of Avalanche Gaming, and I think they're going to do really well moving into the next.
Awesome stuff. From the Lorax, what do you think about Tesla price action? Tesla is the asymmetric equity of the next 6 to 10 years. There's no doubt in my mind. It's just Elon Musk is the most hated person on the planet. And it's also the most misunderstood company. They think it's a car company. When you look at it as a car company, you miss the opportunity. I did buy a lot last week at exactly $108.30. So I was very happy with that. So did Kathy Wood, by the way. It's, they're going to be rolling out bots. They're going to be shipping them next year. They have Model 2 coming, and the FSD is right there. It is 99% there. So it's an opportunity. I don't know if you guys look at Tesla, but it has been dinged by everybody because Elon Musk threatens everybody. Mainstream media, TradFi. Like, he's going to be coming up with X payments now, and then he's going to have all the banks pissed off at him. It's just, he's the persona non grata. Any thoughts on Elon and what he's doing?
I got to tell you, like, I appreciate what he's done for X, or what was called Twitter. I'm still kind of I still see the same bots though. But I mean, if there's any place you want to get the information from, X is the place.
43,000. Sorry, just had to drop that right now. Just Bitcoin.
43K?
Over $1,100 since we began. It's because Rob, you got good juju. I hope you're not short.
Man, I feel sorry for everybody who's shorted this, but that's just the game you play.
We're seeing the short squeeze could be happening now, especially if it gets to that 44K, especially 45K. $250 million is lost by my calculations. T&D Tesla asks you, speaking of Tesla, Rob, did you buy BOZO?
No, because I got into it. I found out too late. Damn it! So then all of a sudden I was looking at the price. I'm like, I missed that. Yeah. But don't worry. It's like the party bus. If you missed the first bus, don't worry. There's another party bus coming right around the corner. Yeah. So I haven't hit it, but it was. I watched the video. And it was great. I'll be watching the second one where CTO is pretty much telling everybody that he told you so. So I'll check that one out today.
And CTO, this is kind of, I like what Rob said, there'll be another bus. I say you can't catch them all, which I think could be a game or something. But CTO, what advice would you give people for FOMO? How do people deal with FOMO? I like Rob's analogy, there'll be another bus. But sometimes people chase too late and then they lose. What's your cure for that?
Yeah, there are multiple cures to the FOMO. The best cure is to really get into the whole market and the whole ecosystem, and you realize that there's a new perfect wave every day. If you have enough time and you're looking the right way, you will find a new perfect wave every day. And the second, antidote for FOMO is to do something little bit. And I use that for Bitcoin many times, like in the past, where I wouldn't have been able to stick to the plan if I went to zero, for example. Like during 2022, everything in my process pointed at zero, but I don't like that I should hold zero, but I don't think that I could have stuck to that. Then I would have FOMO'd back every small pump that happened along the way. I would have panicked and bought back. And then next day it's like, oh no, why did I do that? I promised I wouldn't. And if you have some, you don't really feel the same FOMO. Then at least like you make a little bit when it goes up and you feel good about it and so on. So that's my two takes. One is to really learn from it, get better, and make sure that you catch the next bus, as Rob said. The second one is that if you can't handle it, get something that doesn't really matter. Buy with 0.1% of your money or something that it absolutely doesn't matter, or whatever number, some $110, $1, skip the coffee and use $5 or something. Then you're feeling less paralyzed. You've done something at least, and yeah, that's what I usually do, because much of trading and investment isn't a analytical game; it's an emotional game. Most people, if they read one book and they get a little bit of education, they can make money in a simulated environment. But then you take the same people and now it's their real money. Their actual money that they have hard earned, the same money they can go and buy milk for. They can't do it anymore. They can't stick to the same strategy that they could do yesterday when it was a simulation. It is an emotional battle much more than an analytical one. So it's a very good question, and it needs like tactics to manage the FOMO.
Exactly. And also to identify a blind spot. If you are an emotional investor, that can be a big problem. So you need a process, a machine to help overcome that, as you well know. So quick question for you, Rob, from Doc Intern. Have you looked into the AI data verification solutions in this space? For example, TrueBit, Verify, to help with input data integrity. Is that looking at kind of Oracle, AI oracles? Do you know anything about that space?
I haven't checked on that particular piece, but it makes sense as far as like identity verification. I mean, look what just happened with Taylor Swift and the things that were going on the internet with that. And then, of course, all the different deepfakes that you will probably see if you're joining this stream late. You're going to see Michael Saylor, or you're going to see Brad Garlinghouse say, "Send me 2 Bitcoin."
3 years running.
Yeah, exactly. But no, as far as that, no, but I'll check them out. There's a couple of different products that I have taken a look. Render, of course. I think everybody takes a look at that one. There's a new one called Hypercycle, which I think will do pretty well. Again, it's all about, and CT will talk about this, computational power and how much you can actually have as far as the infrastructure for AI. You need a massive amount of that. What if you could essentially tag into all the different computers across the globe, and people able to be like a repository for them to actually use that and then get paid for it, kind of like the Theta of AI. So something like that, sure. But for that piece, the digital ID, I don't know. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, awesome stuff. There is one last question, which is a bit of a tricky one, and that is, let me see. Do you think Bitcoin ETFs will allow fiat to control the price with government control? So a lot of people are very concerned about, one of the reasons the US government has approved the ETFs is so they can have a better handle on Bitcoin. And I think, if you look at the amount that's available for sale, it's a very, very small amount of the actual supply. I wouldn't be too concerned about this at this point. And people think the US is the be-all and end-all of the whole world. But the world is a very big place, and the US is only 4% of the population. What do you guys think about that? Is that a conspiracy theory, or do you think it has legs, that the US government actually wants to control Bitcoin by approving the ETFs?
I mean, I will just say one thing that is amazing, though, that there's a website called Bitcoin Treasury. We talked about this yesterday. You can see that as far as like who controls the Bitcoin or has the most amount of Bitcoin as far as countries versus institutions. In a very short amount of time, these ETF institutions have doubled what all the countries in the entire world have. So if you're looking at that, you're like, well, that's something. But again, it's a very small percentage. And the majority of where the Bitcoin actually is in the hands of us, not them. So it is one thing to definitely consider.
Yeah. Awesome. So any final thoughts? That was the show. I want to be just so grateful for you both to be here on a Monday and spending time with us, coming in from all over the world. We've got Sweden, Puerto Rico, and the West Coast represented. So we need to balance it out.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I think you answered it, but I just want to check it because I want to have your answer and not the general internet. If someone has Grayscale in their, say, retirement account, and they switch to another Bitcoin ETF, because now Grayscale is an ETF, right? And then they switch to another ETF. Do they incur capital gains tax or
you move from any asset to any asset, even if it's a like asset. It's like, for example, moving from, imagine USDC was depegged and you move to US dollar. That's a taxable event, even though it's dollar to dollar. Same thing for an ETF. And there is a complexity regarding a wash sale rule. So if you are, imagine you bought Grayscale GBTC at a high price, and say 50, and you sold it at 30, you're incurring a loss. You can't, unless you're in a tax-free account, you can't write that loss off You can write that loss off, but if you do, it prevents you from re-entering the asset for another 30 days. That's the wash sale
rules.
rule. Yeah. So it's a bit of a pain there. So beware of that if you are thinking of selling something at a loss and planning to write it off. Again, if you're in a retirement account, don't sweat it. But in that regard, any move from anything to anything, if it involves a move, it is a taxable event. That's the easy way to think about it. And I'm not a tax accountant or an accountant or a tax advisor. But Rob, you know about this stuff. True.
Well, yeah, but just remember that. I mean, to move from like wallet to wallet is not just to make sure, because I see some comments, but it's to move from asset to asset, or if we're using any kind of like for goods, services, and providers. So if you're doing that kind of payment, yes, it's a taxable event.
Exactly. Well, I'm very grateful, Rob, for you to be here.
Good times.
Leaning on us. Yeah. And Rob and I
see in the comments, Solid 101.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah, it's been a big pump happening, and sometimes that happens, and sometimes I watch the charts while we're going live, and literally I think the good vibes from the audience here is over 3,000 people watching, pump things up a little bit. So thank you all for coming. Wishing you both a great week. Thank you once again, Rob. Thank you, CTO. And catch you all on the flip side. Thank you as well to the mods in the chat and everybody for coming and all the great questions. See you all soon. Bye, gang.